Welcome to A Guide to Every Deck in EDH, and today we're looking at Arcum Dagsson. So Arcum Dagsson is a pretty old school commander, and it is a blue creature, 4 mana 2/2, and it says tap, target artifact creature's controller sacrifices it. That player may search their library for a non-creature artifact card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle their library. So basically you get to sacrifice your artifact creatures and cheat out any non-creature artifact from your library. So of course we're going to want cheap artifact creatures that we can sacrifice. So anything that's like a mana dork, like Hedron Crawler, Monakin, Ornithopter of Paradise, and Silver Myrrh are going to pair very well with that. We've also got cards like Malcator's Watcher, which draw when they die, and Myrrh Retriever, which can either get back into their artifact or you can use it in various artifact loops. Then of course you're going to want to have artifacts that are not creatures that you can tutor out for free. So obviously you can tutor out any of them, it doesn't matter which one. So you could tutor out Mono Rocks or whatnot if you wanted to, but why would you want to do that? So the main thing you're going to want to be getting is big either combo pieces or like bomb payoff cards. So some examples are Chimil the Inner Sun. This is a new 6 mana artifact from Ixalan. Its spells you control can't be countered. And at the beginning of your end step, discover 5, so Cascade for 5 basically. We've got Darksteel Monolith. It's indestructible, and once each turn you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a colorless spell you cast from your hand. So if you have big artifact spells in your hand already, you can tutor this out and then cast those for free. And then we've got things like Godpharaoh Statue, which is a fairly expensive stacks piece that will tax all of our opponent's spells. We've got things like Portal to Phyrexia as a sweeper that will edict 3 of our opponent's creatures for every opponent, and then is a reanimate spell every single turn. Possessed Portal, another expensive stack piece that prevents draws and then causes people to discard and sacks permanents. And then just various other combo cards or like value engines, so Rings of Bright Hearth, etc., but we'll get back to that later. So we've got our draw engines, of course, in Mystic Forge and the One Ring, which we can go tutor for with Arcum if we want to. We've got our various combo cards. So of course we're playing Ye Olde Dramatic Scepter, Isochron Scepter plus Dramatic Reversal. If we've got our Mono Rocks that produce at least 3 mana, we can go infinite with Dramatic Reversal plus Isochron Scepter. This will also incidentally untap Arcum Dagsson. So we can use Arcum again, and we can use this synergy even if we don't have the infinite mana combo yet, just to go tutor out a bunch of stuff from our deck using Arcum. We've got Clock of Omens, which can itself be part of various combos. Then there's some complicated combos involving March of the Machines. This basically makes it so that every artifact in play becomes a creature, and therefore we can use Arcum to sack any of them, which is involved in some 4-card combos that I'm not going to get into right here because they're a little complicated, but that's what March of the Machines is in here for primarily. Rings of Bright Hearth can double up on the activation ability of Arcum, or it can just go infinite with Basalt Monolith to generate infinite colorless mana. We've got Intruder Alarm, which will untap Arcum whenever a creature enters the battlefield. We've got Staff of Domination, which, again, if we have infinite mana, can be an infinite mana outlet to draw our entire deck, and it can just untap Arcum for 3 mana. Of course, Hullbreaker Horror, because we can loop cheap Mono Rocks like Sol Ring, Mox Opal, etc. to generate infinite mana that way. And Genesis Chamber, which is also going to be part of certain combos. Forsaken Monument as well can also make things like Basalt Monolith go infinite on the colorless mana. So that is basically all of our combos here. Got a whole big suite of counter spells, pretty stock stuff, a little bit of fast mana. We also do want haste because we don't want to have to cast our Arcum and then just have it sit on the battlefield. We want to be able to activate it immediately, so that's where cards like Hall of the Bandit Lord, Lightning Greaves, and 1000-Year Elixir are going to come into play to allow us to tap for it immediately. When it comes to our lands, we primarily have islands, but we do also have a bunch of other cards, so things like Manamo, of course, can untap Arcum or the Ring or whatnot. Mirrex is in here because it produces a artifact creature token, so we always will have access to a token to sack with Arcum if we need to, if we have Mirrex. Academy Ruins, which can get back artifacts that have died if we want to get them back. Mystic Sanctuary, Otawara, like pretty stock stuff here. Emergent Zone, nothing you haven't seen before. Little bit of protection, of course. Shore Up is something that grants hexproof but also untaps it, so it's perfect to use with Arcum because it either protects it from removal spells and it untaps it so we can activate it again, including at instant speed. Then of course we're going to want a whole bunch of mana ramp, as many creature versions of that ramp as possible so that we can sack them. We got a little bit of removal and things like Resculpt and Snap. Also a little bit of stacks, as obviously mentioned before, Godpharaoh Statue and Possessed Portal, but this deck also does somewhat well with Back to Basics. Some sweepers in Psych Rift and Portal to Phyrexia, and then a little bit of tutors. And then finally down here at the bottom, we've got various cards that untap Arcum, which can of course untap possibly other things as well, such as like the One Ring or Mystic Forge, but primarily they're in here so that we can activate Arcum multiple times in turn. So we've got things like Cerulean Wisps and Refocus, which allow us to draw a card as well as untap. And then we've got Dream's Grip, Twiddle, Vizier of Tumbling Sands, and then notably, Magerite Stone is another card along such things like Thousand Year Elixir, which is an artifact that untaps the creature, so we can also tutor for it if we want to create multiple tutor chains. So there isn't exactly a way to win on the spot, although you can do things like potentially make infinite tokens with Genesis Chamber, or get a bunch of artifacts into play and then animate them all using March of the Machines. Since there are ways of drawing the whole deck, you could include Thassa's Oracle in here as well, just to be able to always have a way to win on the spot, but that is pretty much going to make up the Arcum Dagsson deck. So the strength of Arcum is basically in that you can tutor whatever you need, so you don't have to specifically go for combos. You can also tutor for like stacks pieces as the need arises. But yep, that is going to be Arcum Dagsson.